Yo, man, Danny Garcia and Jose Benavidez just had the press conference. Wasn't too many shots fired except for Angel Garcia. I like Angel Garcia. When I was in Philadelphia, I went to Danny Garcia's gym. Unfortunately, Danny Garcia's gym is not a public gym. It's only open when Danny Garcia is training there. But I went to the barber shop right next door, and a couple of Danny Garcia's family members work there. It's a cool barber shop. So shout out to him. I really wanted to meet Angel Garcia when I went there. I like Angel Garcia. When Danny Garcia was fighting Lucas Matisse, the Argentinian dude, Marcos Villegas from Fight Hub asked Angel Garcia, how do you feel about your son being booed and then praising Lucas Matisse during the workout? Angel Garcia hit a great point. He said, all these illegal the Argentinians that are in America, it kind of reminds me of Canelo fans. He said, when you sign the welfare check that says United States of America on it, all of a sudden you're American. You know what I'm saying? But you boo Danny Garcia, who happens to be born in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Mind you, he's Puerto Rican. His father is Puerto Rican. His family's Puerto Rican. Keep in mind that Puerto Rico is part of the United States of America. You know what I mean? I tell a lot of Puerto Rican subscribers to my channel, a couple people I know. In Southern California, a lot of the race fans, the boxing fans, the soccer players, the lawnmowers, they'll sit there and hate on Puerto Rican boxing fans, Puerto Rican boxers. Keep in mind that Puerto Rico is part of the United States of America. They don't get deported. No, they don't. They never will. You know what I'm saying? Like, you don't hear nothing. Puerto Rico is part of the United States. So shout out to all the great Puerto Rican boxers. Miguel Cotto, Felix Trinidad, Danny Garcia, Xander Zayas, not Edgar Bamlanga, not him. This is an interesting article right here. Mauricio Suleiman, I met him one time. I should have snuffed him, but I didn't. But I didn't know then what I know now. When I met him, I should have took off on him. It was at the WBC amateur tournament in Chicago. It was at Cicero Stadium. Dude was there. Mikey Garcia was there, but I met him. He seemed cool, but little did I know what was yet to come. This is like in 2017. This was before he made the franchise belt. He went and said the reason people hate Canelo Alvarez, according to him, I'm gonna read it right now. I didn't upload it to this, but I'm gonna read what he said. He said he's freckled, red-haired, nice and quiet. He's a nice and quiet fighter, and suddenly he has a girlfriend who appears with him in magazines. At the same time, he continues to succeed in boxing. That's what Mauricio Suleiman said. He couldn't be more wrong. Leave it up to Mauricio Suleiman to say that Canelo's only hated because he's freckled, red hair, nice and quiet. Mauricio Suleiman is about 80% of the reason that Canelo gets hate. Mauricio Suleiman invented a belt that boxing never seen before. He invented the franchise belt for Canelo. Canelo tests positive, basically zero suspension. I don't care about that 6 months. Mauricio Suleiman helped Canelo ruin boxing. I know Canelo ruined boxing, but this man is his accomplice. This man enabled him to ruin boxing. Talking about he's hated because he's freckle-faced. No, he's not. You see, it's very clear what's on Mauricio Suleiman's mind. The fact that he's claiming that Canelo is hated because he's freckle-faced, red hair, lets you know that the image of race is what he goes to for the Canelo hate. So deep down, racism is on his mind. He's saying that Canelo was hated because he's quiet, red-haired, and freckle-faced. No. I mean, he's actually loved because he's freckle-faced and red-haired. That's the reason that the boxing media loves him. He couldn't be more wrong. He's hated because of the privileges he gets because of his red hair and freckle face. Mauricio Sulaiman is trying to fool the public, as always. Canelo Alvarez is loved because of that, because of the red hair. He looks Caucasian. So the old media and race fans love Canelo for this reason. I think that Canelo receives a lot of backlash and hate because of how Mauricio Sulaiman and the old media and the boxing babies him. Babies him. Mr. Test positive for steroids. Mr. Get destroyed in his last fight. Mr. Not take the rematch in his last Mr. Not take the rematch against the guy who destroyed him in his last fight. Mr. Getting ready to fight a 40-year-old man in September. Mr. Franchise Belt. Mr. Canelo Weight. Mr. Duck Fights. Mr. Not Give Ladder Rematches. Mr. Flat-Footed. Mr. Trains with the worst trainer in boxing. I think that's why Canelo gets a lot of the hate. Not because he's freckle-faced and red hair. That's the reason he gets a lot of love, because there's a lot of racism in boxing. I don't care what none of y'all say. Yaya, what's up, bro? Yaya says, why does Sulaiman look like Eddie Reynoso's cousin? Mauricio Sulaiman is Canelo Alvarez's father. I truly believe that. Mauricio Sulaiman bent the rules for Canelo more than I ever seen rules bent in boxing history. I never seen the rules bent in a sport as much as they've been bent for this little redhead dude right here. I never seen no type of rules bent for one particular athlete more than I seen them bent for Canelo Alvarez, especially in boxing. I never seen a whole new belt created. I never seen a whole new weight class created. I never seen someone test positive for steroids, but the suspension is over just in time for that man to have a rematch on Mexican Independence Day. I never seen that in the history of sports. Because of him, this is why I say, dude ruined boxing. I believe in my heart. I know y'all probably think I just say this for the videos. No. I believe this in my heart. Canelo ruined boxing. He came along at the perfect time for his success, but at the same time, he hurts boxing. He came along at the social media era of boxing. The era where people just, it's all about followers. It's all about a bandwagon. You know what I'm saying? This man could be successful in this era of boxing, but in this era of boxing only. Canelo couldn't have been successful, not even in the pretty boy Floyd Mayweather era of boxing. I think even in that era, Canelo would not have been successful at all whatsoever. Because even in the pretty boy Floyd Mayweather era, the early 2000s, this man wouldn't have been able to move the way he moved. He wouldn't have been able to create a franchise belt. I'm not sure what Mauricio Sulaiman's father's name is, but he ran the WBC at that time. He was still alive. I don't think that Canelo would have got away with the stuff he gets away with. Because at that particular time, there were real Mexican boxers fighting. There was real Mexican warriors fighting. Like Marquez, Morales, gang of real men, Oscar de la Hoya. Canelo wouldn't have survived in that era. He would have been boxing. He would have been a contender, but he would have had about 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 losses. Canelo wouldn't be who he is if he didn't fight in this era. Canelo only gets away with what he gets away with because he fights in the social media era, the 2010s, 2020s era. You know what I mean? Yaya says, yo, what's up, bro? This dude says, I'm gonna try to say your name right. Your name is Mazumbi the Great. Shout out from Kenya. What's up to Kenya, bro? Yaya says, has he ever boxed? You know what? Unfortunately, Mauricio Suleiman falls into the typical category of a promoter, organization president, judge, fan, YouTube channel, network. Typically, he falls into that category of someone who's a big name in boxing, but never threw a punch in his life. Mauricio Suleiman ain't nothing more than a fan of Canelo. Typical, because he never threw a punch in his life, but he has the power to baby Canelo. He has the power to boost Canelo's popularity. You know what I'm saying? So he falls into the typical, he's basically a fan. That's nothing more, nothing less. All Mauricio Suleiman is of Canelo is his biggest fan. He literally made a belt for the guy. He made a belt so he could duck. Mauricio Suleiman is Canelo's biggest fan. We have to be honest here. He lost over 4. Hey, man, right off the top, Canelo didn't start fighting competition until he came to the United States. He lost to Floyd. He arguably lost to Austin Trout. You know what I'm saying? Take that knockdown away, and a lot of people would agree that Austin Trout outpointed him. So that's 2 losses. He lost to Erislan Dillara, clearly. Triple G twice. That's 5 losses. Dimitri Bivol, 6 losses. A lot of people say, I agree, a lot of people think that Miguel Cotto outpointed Canelo. So Canelo would have literally 7 losses on his record. That's what his real record is. Whatever how many wins, and Canelo got 7 losses if you want to be real and not rob people and all type of stuff. Damian Alvarez says, any era of Floyd, Canelo would have still... Bro, Canelo would lose to Floyd no matter what. I know his fans talk about prime for prime. Those are the same people who never seen prime Floyd Mayweather. You want to talk about, oh, prime for prime, Canelo would win. Bro, Canelo couldn't even beat a 36-year-old Mayweather. And if we're talking about prime for prime, do y'all even remember Pretty Boy Floyd? So all y'all little haters talking about Floyd lost to Castillo. Did y'all even watch the fight? Or y'all are just repeating things you hear? Much like in life, racism in boxing is also taught. It's taught in life, but in boxing, the racism is taught. It's just repeated. They never seen the Castillo fight. Never. All they're doing is repeating what they see on the internet. That's why I say this man fights in an era that suits him. The social media era of boxing perfectly suits him because it's the dick riding era. But at the same time, you got channels like mine and a couple other channels who really say the truth on this dude. So it's a good and bad thing, but for the most part, it's a bad thing because you got a lot of bandwagons, a lot of race fans. Like I say, racists, a lot of just pure racists. Since they can't get a tattoo to say racist on their forehead, they become boxing fans because it's a clever way to vent their racism. They can't be racist on the street because something would happen to them really quick. So they go to boxing, and there they can vent all their racism. They can say, who has Charlo fought? Who has Andre fought? Canelo could literally sit there and give 100 white boys a payday. Demetrius Andrade wants to fight, and he says, oh, you just want a payday. Why? Is that because he's black? So Canelo fights at the perfect era that suits him. You know what I mean? The clown era. Canelo wouldn't survive in no other era without at least 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 losses. This is the only era where this man could be successful. Only era. Floyd did it in 2 eras. Towards the end of Floyd's career, social media started, you know what I mean, getting big. So Floyd dominated from the early 2000s up until the social media era. And now Floyd is taking advantage of that now with the exhibitions. You know what I mean? Canelo would not survive in no other era other than this one. You know what I'm saying? This dude says, Yo, what up? Big fan from California. Want to know your thoughts on Sean O'Malley getting the fight with Peter Yan? I don't like Sean O'Malley. I think he's a typical fighter hyped up by the UFC just because he's white. The man could wear other people's flags painted in his hair, like when he won like when he wore Chito Vera's Ecuadorian flag on his head. He lost that fight. I don't like dude. This man says, watch Canelo get another franchise belt. You know what, M Black J? The franchise belt that he got at 160, it probably holds weight to carry. It probably holds weight at 168. The franchise belt that this man gave him at 160, it probably holds weight for any division Canelo goes to. It's a witness protection belt for whoever. Hey, look it. The franchise belt is like a shield. I'm going to take the phone, for example. This is the franchise belt. Whenever a dangerous opponent wants to fight Canelo, all he does is hold up the franchise belt, and the dangerous opponent goes away. They disappear. You know what I'm saying? Perfect example, man. If I was some type of animator, I would make a cartoon about it. I would say Canelo's franchise belt, whenever a dangerous mandatory comes about, all he does is hold the franchise belt and they disappear. That's all that is. Canelo's franchise belt holds weight at 168. Don't care what none of y'all say. Miguel Cotto is your favorite boxer. I like Miguel Cotto. He had a beautiful left hook. Only Puerto Rican fighter to win titles in 4 divisions. Love Miguel Cotto. Canelo's ducking Benavidez. We know that. We know that. 2-division franchise champion. That's exactly what Canelo is. This dude say Canelo got dog walked by Floyd. Imagine what, bro. Canelo would duck Roy Jones. The only reason that Canelo fought Floyd was because Floyd was smaller. And because of the payday. How ironic that Canelo says that Andre wants a payday nowadays, when the only reason he fought Floyd back in 2013 was because of the payday. He knew he had 0 chance of winning. He knew his skill level was shit, trash, but he just wanted the payday. You know what I mean? How ironic. You know what I'm saying? Ain't that something? Everybody type in franchise belt. Yeah. Franchise belt is Canelo's middle name. Matter of fact, Canelo should get franchise belt tattooed across his neck. But you know what? Hey, I'm going to ask y'all, hey, should I do a video on it? Should I do a video on it? Mauricio Suleiman says that Canelo's freckle face and red hair is what gets him the hate. I think that's what gets him the love, especially from the race fans. You know what I'm saying? I should do a video on that, huh? Okay, I got y'all. Hey, but I just want to make this a quick live speaking on this here subject. I'm going to do a video on it. I'm going to drop it later on. Matter of fact, I'm going to do a video on it. I don't care what nobody say. Yo, Mr. Bambino Cruz Boxing, I appreciate that comment, bro. Your channel is my favorite boxing channel, even though I've never seen it. So I appreciate people who want to hear the truth. But yeah, matter of fact, later on, I'm going to drop a video about it. This dude is Canelo Alvarez's biological father. I believe he's Canelo's biggest fan, / father, / bodyguard, / guardian angel, the whole 9. This dude helped Canelo ruin boxing. If Canelo Alvarez ruined boxing as Batman, this dude is Robin. For real. All right, man. You will get the video by tomorrow. I mean, by later on. I got y'all. I'm gone for now. Canelo Alvarez is a disgrace to boxing. Mauricio Suleiman is Canelo's biggest fan. I'm gone.